So every single year around this time, I see the exact same thing happen in Warhammer. People are setting big goals. I want to win more games. I want to podium an event. I want to finally be good this year. And by February, most of your goals, they're already freaking dead. And it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you don't care. It's because most of the goals that people have in Warhammer, and honestly in life in general, are straight up built to fail. So what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to talk about how to actually achieve your Warhammer 40,000 goals this year. You can actually even take this framework and apply it to basically every other area in your life, and you're going to be happy with the results. Now, even if you have limited time, even if you have inconsistent reps, even if you have bad dice and you have a hard time getting like real life consistency and you're just having things that constantly get in your way, this framework that I'm going to give you today is going to put you on the path to actually success, to improving your results in your tournaments, in your hobby games, whatever, for Warhammer 40,000 this year. So let's freaking jump right into it. The number one thing that we got to understand is why most goals fail, because most of these goals are not too great. Because the first problem is very simple. Most players are setting what's called an outcome goal. And outcome based goals are things like winning games, winning events, going 5-0 at an event, going 4-1 at an event. These are outcome-based goals. And here's the uncomfortable truth about these outcome goals. You don't actually control most of the things that get to decide these outcomes, because you don't control pairings. You don't control, let's say you're playing Drukari. What happens when you run into an army that's spamming indirect? Well, you just lose, right? Because you don't control pairings. What about dice? What happens when you roll the 6-inch charge with a CP reroll and you roll a 4 into a 4? Well, you can't control dice. You don't control what the terrain layouts are, but you can, however, plan for what the terrain layouts are. You can't control your opponent's skill, but you can accommodate for your opponent's skill. And you can't control when the meta is going to be shifting. What if suddenly tomorrow everyone in the world is like, well, you know what? Victrix Guard are counterable, even if they are really strong. I'm tired of seeing people present hard counters to them, so no one shows up with Victrix Guard, and everyone just starts running something off the wall that you're not prepared for. You can't control when that meta shift is going to happen. You can kind of predict it, and by the way, I don't expect that to happen, but you can predict meta shifts, but you can't control when it's going to happen. So when your goal is something that you cannot control, failure is honestly going to be guaranteed. I kind of experienced something like this with one of my clients at a major towards the end of last year. We were preparing for a big major here in Norway, and we were looking at the current meta. We said, you know what? I don't expect to see any Knights players here, because Knights had just been destroyed. We don't really have many Knights players here in Norway, so it was unlikely to see a bunch of them. And so we made armies for our client that was specifically tailored to fight into things that aren't Knights. And guess what happened? Like 30 players with Knights showed up, and it was a big problem. We couldn't control the fact that the meta was just something that we weren't expecting. So when your goal is something that you can't control, your failure is going to be guaranteed, even if you're improving in your skill. And when people fail goals that they don't control, they're going to do two things. They're going to get frustrated, or they're going to quit. So we gotta get a better goal. So let's talk about the only freaking goals that are going to work. And these are the things that I want you setting in your mind, okay? These are the things that you need to understand. If you want to improve at Warhammer 40,000, you need to stop setting your outcome goals and start setting input goals. These are the types of goals that actually work. Behavior goals. What does this mean? These are the things that you can actually physically do. These are not just wins. These are not results. These are actions that you can take. For example, one of the behavioral goals that you can have is reviewing every loss for 5 minutes after the end of the game. You can practice deployments before games. So if you're planning on going for a tournament and you know there are 2 layouts, on day number 1, your layout is going to be GW1. On day number 2, your layout is going to be GW8, for example. You can actually deploy your army in such a way, and you'll know that when you get to the table, this is how you should deploy, regardless of who you're playing against. This will improve your results, because then you're not having to spend brain power or worry about mistakes. You can literally take pictures of your practice deployment and just do exactly that deployment, because you know it's going to be a good deployment. So practice deployments for games. You can also play one focused list instead of constantly changing your list. Let's say I have a brand new army list. Like some of you might know, I am currently running a Hammer of Averni list, which is disgusting. But let's say I play a single game or one of the games that I'm playing, one of my units just doesn't perform in it. That doesn't mean I'm going to immediately get rid of that unit. No, that just means in that particular matchup, the unit didn't perform. So what I recommend is playing one focus list instead of constantly changing. Now, the second type of goal we have is skill type goals. And these are things that we can really, really improve on in 2026. Instead of saying, I want to win more, what I want you to say is, I want to improve my deployments. I want to improve my primary control and my primary denial. I want to get better at learning how to trade units or eliminate my opponent without trading my units. These are the things that I want you to be setting as far as skill goals are concerned. And then lastly, you're going to have process goals. These are things like how you're going to engage with the game over time. So for example, only playing one army for 3 months to really learn the in and outs of that army. Only playing, one list per season because you're trying to get this list to work. Maybe there might be 100 points of flexibility in there, but only really focusing on this one style of army. One skill focus per tournament or event. Let me kind of elaborate on that. So one of the things that I did when I was trying to get really good at Warhammer 40,000 is I realized I was not good at screening, and people were constantly deep striking in places that I wasn't prepared for them to deep strike. So what I did is I set a new process goal. I said my win condition for the next 10 games, my personal win condition is that my opponent never deep strikes when I'm not expecting it, or where I'm not expecting it. And so what I did is I spent the next 10 games always pre-measuring every single move to make sure I had this 9-inch bubble in positions where my opponent could not deep strike on me unexpectedly. So after those 10 games, it became like autopilot on me. Now when I play Warhammer, I don't even have to think about screening because I just do it naturally. So this is what I'm talking about, a skill focus per tournament. What I like to do is I like to focus on what skill am I trying to develop right now. If your goal doesn't tell you what to do on a random Tuesday night, then it's not a real goal. You need to know what you should be doing on that random Tuesday night to achieve your freaking goal. So how do we match these goals to our real life problems? Because this is one of the big deals. There's a lot of real life problems. You've got limited time, higher quality. Right? There's these things that are really big problems for us that we need to be able to match our goals on the tabletop to our goals in real life. You could apply this to business. You could apply this to family. You could apply this framework to anything, by the way. So this is the part that people are really avoiding. You do not have unlimited time. Neither do I. You have jobs, you've got families, you've got the gym, you've got burnout. Currently, I'm still trying to practice my Warhammer skills, but I'm coaching 30 to 40 hours a week while I'm also, building all these videos for you guys so that you can improve. I do not have that much time, but I'm still improving my skills and I'm still improving things. And the way I'm doing it is that I have changed the way that I practice Warhammer. Our goals have to match reality. They can't match fantasy. I cannot play 5 matches a week anymore. I did that when I was trying to get really, really good. I can't do it anymore. I'm lucky if I get 1 game, maximum 2 games a week. So what does this mean? It means I'm having fewer games, but I'm having higher quality matches. I'm playing fewer lists, but I'm getting a much deeper understanding of the list that I am running. I'm grinding less, but I'm having more intention in the practice that I do get. 5 intentional reps will beat 20 autopilot games every single freaking time. So while you are preparing a skill, if you are intentionally focused on developing these skills, intentionally focused on denying your opponent primary, intentionally focused on these individual aspects of the game, you're going to get much better at the game and you're going to have measurable improvement. So intentional reps, that's how we match our goals to real life. If you can only play 1 game every other week, make sure that 1 game counts. Perfect. So let's give you guys this framework that works. This is a very, very simple framework. If you want something, here it is. You're going to have 1 army. You're going to take 1 list. You're going to take 1 skill focus. And you're going to take 1 review habit. That's it. You don't need motivation. You don't need inspiration. All you need is discipline and structure. So you're going to do this for a few months, and something really interesting is going to happen to you. You're going to stop feeling lost. You're going to stop blaming dice, and you're going to start recognizing patterns on the table. So what does 1 army mean? Are you a Space Marine player for the next 3 months? Are you an Orc player for the next 3 months? Are you a stupid Elf player for the next few months? Yeah. What does 1 list mean? Well, for me, what list really means is I develop a list and I learn how to play that list. A lot of you, when you comment on my videos, you'll be like, let's take my video I'm kind of known for, my army I'm known for right now, which is my Dark Angels Wrath of the Rock list, which a lot of people are now copying, which is awesome. I'm glad you guys are seeing a lot of success with it. I see a lot of people who will ask questions on my videos and be like, well, why don't you use it at unit X instead of unit Y? Hey, you should try unit B instead of unit C. Well, I'm not necessarily going to try those units. That doesn't mean I don't see the value in the units. What happens is I have built the list that I have built to function in a very specific way, but I have to learn to make this unit function the way it's designed to function. So if I'm including a unit of Desolation Marines instead of a Whirlwind, one might think that these two units could be interchangeable, but they're not. But you're going to have a really, really, really hard time determining why they're not interchangeable if you don't learn how to run the list the way the list is intended to be played. You're going to choose one skill focus, guys. And like I said, this can be screening. If you haven't mastered screening, I actually highly recommend that you master screening, kind of the way that I described a couple minutes ago. And then you're going to choose one review habit. So what I do when I play is I either record my games or I take pictures of my games, and I always track the score of my game. And I'll go back through my pictures or my video, and I will see, okay, I know I failed a 5-inch charge here. Would it have been possible for me to have made that a 4-inch charge? Okay, I know that I was unable to get the advance roll I needed to deny this primary. Could I have staged a little closer so that I didn't need as high an advance roll to deny it? That's what I'll do. Okay, so that's my review habit. That's it, guys. You're gonna dramatically improve your game if you start doing these things. All right, so we're gonna wrap this video up pretty quickly here. I got 2 more things for you, and then I'm gonna let you go. Section 5, what are we going to avoid this year? I'm going to save you a ton of pain. We're going to avoid a couple things. We're going to avoid army hopping. That doesn't mean that you can't play 2 armies. If you play 2 armies, that's okay. But there's basically no reason to ever be playing 8 armies. We're going to avoid meta chasing. Just because Victrix Honor Guard come out doesn't mean that you have to go buy all the Victrix Honor Guard to compete. I have not bought any Victrix Honor Guard. Well, that's not true. I actually have bought some, but they're still in the box. I haven't constructed them. But I'm not running them, because I just figured, oh, I'll just shift to counter Victrix Honor Guard. It's no problem. Rebuilding your list after every single loss. We're going to avoid rebuilding your list after every single loss. Just because you lose doesn't mean there was a problem with the list. I've lost with my Dark Angels Wrath of the Rock list, but every time I lost, what I did is in my game review, which is a habit that I built, like we talked about in the last slide, I identified my play mistakes that screwed me over. It was never the list. It was always my own play mistakes that actually screwed me over. So we're not going to rebuild our list every single loss. Now, if you have, I don't know, 5 losses in a row, and you're realizing that one unit just never does the job you expect it to do, maybe that unit needs to go. But you're going to actually need to try, and you're going to need to train and drill these lists to actually learn and understand all of the nuance behind them. And we're never going to blame dice instead of decisions. I recently, in our teams tournament that I'm hosting on our Discord, if you want to join our next teams tournament, all you got to do is sign up on either YouTube or Coffee down below, and you can be a member of the Happy Corporate Wargaming Discord as well, and you can join our TTS leagues. But I had a game where in round 1, I think I shot an entire unit of Zone Thropes and a Neurotyrant into 5 commandos, and I killed 1 commando because he just made every single save. That is unreasonable. It's crazy. Like, the mathematics on that is like just so irrational. And because of that, I ended up scoring 0 on primary instead of 10 on, or I'm sorry, 0 on secondary instead of 10 on secondary in turn 1. Well, this could have been a devastating loss, but instead I just shook it off. I stopped blaming the dice, and I figured, okay, cool, I just need to play good fundamental Warhammer in order to catch up. And it worked out pretty dang well. So if you blame dice, if you change everything, every single time you lose, you're never going to learn anything. So guys, in closing, let's just break this bad boy down. Here we go. Here's the reframe that I want you to take into your new year. Success in Warhammer is not winning every single game. It's not podiuming immediately. It's not about being perfect. Success is learning control over your own actions. It's understanding why you lost or why something didn't work when it didn't work, and then knowing what skill to work on next. That's how we build long-term success. If you build systems instead of just chasing dopamine highs and motivation, this is going to be the year that you actually improve and not just hope that you do. Guys, if you want help, you can book coaching on my Coffee. The link is in the description down below. You can also jump in and join the most helpful Warhammer 40,000 community in the entire freaking world in the Happy Corporate Wargaming Discord. Sign up today. I'll see you there. Until next time, have an amazing freaking day. Crump on. Bye-bye.